we may all have experienced moments of flow in which our intuition is guiding us and our intuition is informed. There's some lessons that we've learned in the past that are coming out naturally because we've either practiced them or they've become sincere enough. You know, the most common way for a lesson to become sincere is through repetition. But one thing that I've found, you can move that along quicker by thinking about who you would have to be to have that be a sincere part of the way you see the world. The things that I do to practice that is like when I'm in a museum and I see a painting that I really love. You know, for one thing, if there's a painting you're attracted to, it's not necessarily just because that painting's great, but because that painting represents something that you value. And a lot of times it's a longing for something I want to be. There's a character trait, there's something in the painting that resonates with my ideal version of myself. And that's happening on an intuitive level. However, if I stand in front of that painting in the museum and I ask, who would I be if I had painted this? Not how did they paint this, but who would I be if I had painted this? For me, there's a whole nother level of learning that happens that really accelerates how quickly you can go to apply it. I notice over and over again, you know, when I go to other workshops, you know, people asking the same questions. And I find that a lot of times those students, to some extent, some of the basics, they already know, but they're still not applying them to their painting. And I find that the reason is because it's not enough to know it intellectually. It has to become sincere. So until we start working on bringing our painting knowledge down into our emotional level, rather than just keeping it intellectual, we're going to have a hard time applying those things that we learn. You know, for instance, you know, we all know now that I was learning from David when we were in class. You know, David would be doing a demo, and oftentimes, you know, he would walk back because, you know, you step back to look at the canvas. Of course, everybody got in his way right then because we all want to get up close to the canvas. And I think so many people are asking themselves, you know, how did he do that? How did he make that mark? When I walked up to the canvas, I would imagine I had made the mark. I wouldn't worry so much how he did it. And I would try to feel, you know, really feel what would it feel like to have made that mark? What would it feel like to have mixed that color? So much of painting is about feeling. Maybe there are mathematical formulas for what makes a color harmony, or mathematical, you know, ratios to what makes an elegant shape. But at the end of the day, you can work through that if you know what those colors next to each other are supposed to feel like, how they're supposed to vibrate with each other. And I stress that so much because I think I tend to be a rather analytical person. It takes a lot of work for me to get connected to that level. Even on plein air, that's what I spend the most of my time doing. You know, one time I even went to the beach, got my sleeping bag, and spent the night just so that I could paint the sunrise. And it wasn't that I couldn't have driven out there at sunrise, but I just knew that I wanted to feel the place and just feel being outdoors and being out there at night. Rushing into it isn't always the best idea. You know, staying out there, looking around and finding what really speaks to you can make all the difference. The most important thing to working your way through a painting is staying in the moment and paying close attention to your feelings.